Please.
Okay. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I now declare open the second day of the 11th session of the Assembly of the International Renewable Energy Agency. So here it is. Good morning. My name is Indu Shekhar Chaturvedi, and I am the Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy in the Government of India. The President has invited me to preside over the Assembly's deliberation for this morning. Today we resume our consideration of item number 5, Annual Report of the Director General on the implementation of the Work Programme and Budget for 2020-21. I would now like to continue with member interventions under this item. There are 23 delegations requesting to make interventions this morning. I will give the floor to the delegations in the order of the speaker list provided by the Secretariat. Please be reminded that the interventions are limited to 3 minutes each. I now give the floor to Maldives, His Excellency Mr. Hussain Rashid, Minister of Environment.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The President of the Assembly, delegates from member countries, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I'm delighted to participate in this first ever virtual IRENA Assembly and would like to thank IRENA for organizing this assembly despite the ongoing pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, the climate emergency that we are living through have become an existential threat to my nation, the Maldives. Other low-lying island nations are enduring the same impacts too. Proactive actions are now required urgently to mitigate the impacts of climate change by reducing emissions and adopting sustainable consumption and ways of life. The close interlinkage between climate change and energy makes the energy sector one of the key areas for interventions in combating the adverse impacts of climate change. In the Maldives, we are persistently working towards transforming our energy sector by integrating renewable energy into our energy mix to reduce the country's heavy dependency on imported fossil fuels and to increase our energy security and make energy more affordable to our people. As our President, Ibrahim Salih, recently announced at the Climate Ambition Summit that the Maldives will achieve at least 26% reduction in our carbon emissions by 2030 with the resources that is currently available to us, and on condition that we receive extensive financial support, we will become net zero by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, currently about 10% of the country's GDP is spent on fossil fuel imports. We have 31.5 megawatts of solar PV currently installed, which accounts for approximately 11.25% of the 280 megawatt national peak load. Our aim is to install further 70 to 80 megawatts of solar PV by the end of 2023, covering at least 36 to 40% of our peak load capacity from renewable energy. This is what we can achieve with the available resources. Of course, we can do more and be more ambitious with additional resources. To achieve these targets, we will need continued support from our international donors and development partners. We need more flexibility to access to finance. Finance is the key to realize our ambitions. Continuous work in improving towards a cleaner and more sustainable energy sector is vital to decrease our heavy dependency on fossil fuel imports, to reduce government expenditure on subsidy, ensure energy security, and reduce emissions. As part of the efforts of improving the regulatory framework of the sector, we have established the Utility Regulatory Authority and revised the net metering regulations to encourage private parties and homeowners to invest in renewable energy. We appreciate the continued support from ADB, World Bank, IRENA, and other stakeholders in developing and transforming energy sector here in the Maldives. Furthermore, I encourage IRENA to foster high-level energy climate transition dialogue among members and partners of an improved implementation of climate actions in the time leading up to COP26 and beyond the summit as well. In this regard, I would like to appreciate the new guidelines opening to renew engagement with the private sector and recognize the significance of IRENA in working with private sector in affirming, laying down and the theory of change consistent with the path towards the SDGs goals and the Paris Agreement. Let me also take this opportunity to thank our President, His Excellency Ibrahim Saleh, for his continued guidance, directions, support, and developing the energy sector here in the Maldives. Thank you all, and I look forward to fruitful discussions in this assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Maldives. I now give the floor to Ukraine, His Excellency Mr. Yaroslav Demenchko, Deputy Minister of Energy for European Integration.
Dear Director General, Your Excellencies, dear delegates, first of all, on behalf of the Ministry of Energy of Ukraine and myself, I would like to greet everyone and express our deepest respect for the International Renewable Energy Agency. We are grateful for the broad cooperation with Ukraine and your comprehensive systematic support for the development of renewable energy. In the troubled times of the global pandemic, IRENA continues to pursue its international goals and puts new meaning into them in the context of overcoming the COVID consequences. We appreciate IRENA's decision to participate in the expect consultations and final evaluation of the draft integrated national energy and climate plan for Ukraine for next 10 years, and we are ready to discuss the details of cooperation in this area. Ukrainian government is also grateful for the opportunity to join the climate investment platform, which aims to mobilize investment in order to achieve considerable progress and in achieving climate goals. IRENA's support of the proposal to hold the Regional Investment Forum for Eastern Europe in this year in Ukraine is especially important for us. Given the logistical constraints due to the pandemic, the Ukrainian side is ready to organize the forum in a virtual format if necessary. I am confident that such event will form a foundation for transition to completely new stage of our cooperation. I wish highly informative and mutually beneficial discussion for all delegates during these days of our meetings. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Ukraine. I now invite Belgium, His Excellency Mr. Peter Claes, Ambassador of Belgium to the UAE.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, to start, I congratulate IRENA Director General La Camera and his colleagues for the flexibility and adaptation shown to continue working in this unprecedented international context, both in terms of the way of working, the organization of various webinars, and in terms of content, which is confirmed by the high percentage of activities which IRENA managed to conclude within its work program. We welcome very much the launch of the Climate Investment Platform tool, which builds bridges between various actors in the renewable energies market and draws attention to investment forums. This tool demonstrates how IRENA can implement projects that deliver real impact on the ground without exceeding its role. We look forward to receiving more information about 175 projects that have emerged on the platform, like their geographical location or which type of renewable energy they deliver. We also welcome IRENA's efforts to investigate how underutilized capital pools can be activated to achieve the scale of investment required for the energy transition. Therefore, we are looking forward to learning more on IRENA's findings in the matter, like the upcoming report Mobilizing Institutional Capital for Renewable Energy, in which IRENA will explore the great potential of institutional investors in boosting the energy transition. Generally speaking, we encourage all initiatives put in place by IRENA in order to facilitate members' cooperation, like the collaborative frameworks, the webinars, and others. We're convinced that those events allow IRENA to gain visibility, not only in the renewable experts circle, but also more broadly in the outside world. With all those actions, we think that IRENA creates a virtuous circle. More interactions and cooperation means more expertise in the hands of IRENA, and this can lead in turn to more visibility for IRENA and even better projects delivery. In this regard, we are pleased to see that IRENA continues its collaboration with the International Energy Agency and REN21, and that the three parties continue to join forces in preparing a joint report on renewable energy policies in a time of transition focusing on heating and cooling. Recent work by IRENA has highlighted the fact that renewables are in many parts of the world competitive with fossil fuels. However, it is clear that future measures are still needed to increase investment in renewable energies. Financial support no longer seems to be the first lever to activate and scale up investments. However, a simplification of the procedures would be one of the priorities to realize in order to respond to this challenge. IRENA could play a role in the exchange of good practice among member states and use its expertise in order to develop solutions. To conclude, I would like for once highlight the good results of Belgium in the renewable production for 2020. Even if these good figures still have to be consolidated, renewable energy, offshore and onshore wind and solar power only, accounted for 18.6% of the electricity generation mix in 2020, an increase of 31% in absolute terms compared with 2019. This rise was driven by many factors, including the weather and the increase in installed capacity in wind and photovoltaic power. Finally, I would like to recall the contributions that Belgium makes to IRENA. The Walloon region has confirmed the 2021 contribution to a multi-year funding program, which will mainly support the deployment of renewables in sub-Saharan African countries. In addition, both the Flemish region and the Walloon region contributed at the end of last year to the Fund for Developing Country Representatives. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Belgium. I now give the floor to Kazakhstan, His Excellency Mr. Madiyar Menelbekov, Ambassador of Kazakhstan to the UAE. I think you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Dear Excellencies, Excellency Francesca La Camera, distinguished participants of the 11th Assembly, on behalf of the Government of the Republic of Kazakhstan, let us welcome you on today's Assembly and express our gratitude to the organizers for providing an opportunity to participate in the discussion of crucial issues regarding development of the renewable energy sector sources in the world. The Republic of Kazakhstan, along with the international community, focused on the development of the renewable energy sector inside the country, and nowadays contributes significant investments into the development of the renewable energy. This is facilitated by huge potential of the renewable energy in Kazakhstan and the relevant legislative framework. The Republic of Kazakhstan aims to achieve the goal indicators in the field of the renewable energy according to the concept of transition towards green economy. In general, it can be noted that in recent years, we have taken significant steps to improve the investment climate in the renewable energy sector, taking into account global practices, as well as through the active implementation of state policy aimed at taking systemic measures to develop renewable energy sources. Currently, there are 115 operating renewable energy facilities in the Kazakhstan, 29 wind power plants, 43 solar power plants, 38 hydroelectric power stations, and 5 biogas plants. In 2020, the volume of installed capacity of existing renewable energy facilities amounted to 1,634 megawatt. The share of renewable energy in the total generated electricity in 2020 was 3%. 2020 year was the first year to achieve the target indicators according to the concept of transition to a green energy. It's worth noting that investors from 10 countries now operating in the green energy sector of Kazakhstan, as well as large financial organizations such as European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, Asian Development Bank of Kazakhstan, and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. In addition, it's pleasant to highlight that large oil companies such as Shell, Eni, and Total have come to the green energy sector of Kazakhstan as investors. Over the last 2 years, the Republic of Kazakhstan, with the active assistance of IRENA, has been promoting a market auction mechanism for the selection of renewable energy projects, which has been highly appreciated by both international and the domestic experts in terms of transparency, security, and the simplicity of the rules of conduct. Auction trading showed great interest from potential investors that confirms by the excess of demand over supply by more than 3 times. Kazakhstan is committed to the Sustainable Development Goals, the implementation of the Paris Agreement. Therefore, our country will actively continue to develop the renewable energy sector. We attach great importance to participating in the activities of the agency and express our great hope for further cooperation with the IRENA in order to stimulate the widespread use of renewable energy at the national, regional, and the international levels. I wish all participants success and a fruitful work. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. The next speaker on the list is Uruguay. I now give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Alvaro Seriani, PR and Ambassador of Uruguay to the UAE.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to address you and congratulate you for being appointed to preside the 11th General Assembly of IRENA and wish you the best of success during this assembly. I would also like to extend my most sincere congratulations to the Director General, Mr. Francesco La Camera, and to the entire Secretariat for another successful organization of the Assembly. We acknowledge and admire the earnest efforts you have made as this first ever assembly held in a virtual format, and we are certain that these meetings will strengthen and stimulate the contributions that we can all make in advancing renewables. We know that the pandemic has upended the world in unimaginable ways, causing irreparable losses and dramatic change in every sector of the economy. Nonetheless, IRENA has managed to adapt to the circumstances in a highly satisfactory manner, readjusting its working methods and constantly seeking the most active participation of its member states. Our country's commitment to renewable energy is once again reflected in the excellent way we worked with IRENA over the past year. We had the pleasure of participating and contributing to the celebration of the collaborative frameworks, which culminated with our designation as Framework Facilitator of the Collaborative Framework on Enhancing Dialogue on High Shares of Renewables in Energy Systems, in my role as Ambassador of Uruguay and a permanent representative before IRENA. We are thus allowed to share our experience as well as benefit from exchanges with other members. At the national level, Uruguay has culminated the first stage of its energy transition with the decarbonization of electric power supply, achieving an average 97% share of renewables in its electrical energy mix over the last 4 years. Likewise, we have become the second leading country in the world with the largest component of solar and wind power in its electricity mix, in excess of 30%, according to the REN 21 report on the global state of renewables. The second stage of Uruguay's energy transition will involve a number of different challenges, such as reducing the current 37% of our energy mix still dependent upon fossil fuels, in which 2/3 of these are consumed by the transport sector. In this regard, we are developing and promoting new alternatives to decarbonize the transport sector, including incentives to encourage greater use of electric battery-powered vehicles in our country, and a project to use hydrogen-fueled vehicles for heavy industrial and long-distance transport. The results of these efforts are none other than a solid intersectorial political stance that spans the last 15 years, with Uruguay now at the forefront of a new energy transition with the aim of becoming carbon neutral in 2050, in line with the commitments acquired under the Paris Agreement. Before concluding, I would like to mention how honored Uruguay is to have been selected as candidate to the IRENA Council for the period 2021-2022 for the Latin America and Caribbean region. We very much look forward to working with the organization and other member states as together we forge closer links of cooperation and the chance to share our experience with others. We wish IRENA the best of success in the coming days of the Assembly, and we reiterate the desire of Uruguay to continue being at IRENA's full disposal to contribute to reaching its goals and the transformation which we all aspire to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. The Secretariat will circulate the English translation of Uruguay's intervention. Thank you for your understanding. I now give the floor to Jordan, His Excellency Mr. Juma Al-Abadi, Ambassador of Jordan to the UAE. Sir, I think you are on mute.
Good morning, Mr. President. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sayyid al-Rais, al-Sayyidat wa-Sada.
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Jordan and of the Jordanian delegation, on my own behalf, I would like to show my deepest appreciation to the UAE for hosting the IRENA 11th session of the Assembly. I would like to thank the former presidency, and I would like to congratulate Spain for its presidency of this present Assembly. I wish you luck in your deliberations. I would like to thank IRENA and Mr. Francesco La Camera and his team for all their continuous efforts and for the good organization of this meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, these circumstances are exceptional due to COVID-19 that impacted the whole world and obstructed growth at all levels including the energy sector. This has impacted our work and our renewable energy projects. The partial or total lockdown has directly affected the demand on electricity, thus reaching up to 30% sometimes. And this has led to a surplus in the available energy. Nevertheless, the Arab world have made any achievements in terms of renewable energy. And in view of the latest developments and in view of the diversification of the different renewable energy sources and in view of the huge investments made at all levels. Yes, renewable energy has become a reality in our daily life, and its share is increasing at all levels. In Jordan, we consider that solar power and wind power are good sources for the production of renewable energy and for the production of more electricity. And we are reflecting on increasing the use of renewable energy, especially biomass energy, in addition to energy storage. Our national strategy 2020-2030 for renewable energy is very important in this regard. That is why we are diversifying resources for renewable energy, and we are highlighting the need for energy security, and we are aiming to reach 31% of renewable energy in the production of electricity by 2030. We are keen on decreasing electricity by 10% by 2030. Jordan has succeeded a lot through its partnership with the private sector. The installed capacity from wind and solar power reached to around 2,000 megawatt, like 19% of the renewable energy, thanks to investments from the private sector. The renewable energy share was only 4% in 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to commend the continuous cooperation between Jordan and IRENA. Jordan is a founding member and permanent member of IRENA, and we look for further cooperation with the member countries in IRENA. We will continue our efforts in order to support all initiatives and projects prepared by IRENA to foster cooperation opportunities between member countries. In conclusion, once again, I wish you success in your deliberations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency. I understand the Secretariat will circulate the English translation of Jordan's speech too. I now invite India for their intervention. Mr. Dinesh Dayanand Jagdale, Joint Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, India.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Sri Indu Shekhar Chaturvedi, and other distinguished dignitaries. In October 2015, India communicated its intended nationally determined contribution in response to COP decisions for the period 2021 to 2030, by way of which India has committed to reduce the emission intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 from the 2005 base levels, and achieve about 40% cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy resources by 2030. India is well on its way to achieve these targets. Today, India has one of the highest rate of growth for renewable energy in the world. The last 6 years have witnessed a steep decline in solar tariffs. During the recent solar bid, a record low tariff of 2.73 US cents per kilowatt hour for solar power has been discovered. Excellency, Government of India has taken many steps for demand creation of RE through its various schemes, such as the PM Kusum, solar rooftops, the central public sector undertaking schemes, which have created in-house demand of more than 36 gigawatt of renewable energy. For reduction on dependence of diesel, by the farm sector and enhancing farmers' income by providing energy and water security, these schemes, especially the PM Kusum scheme, provides for installation of standalone solar pumps to replace diesel pumps. These standalone pumps on a cumulative can save around 1.2 billion liters of diesel per annum and generate employment opportunity to over 600,000 job years. Keeping in view India's long-term goal of decarbonizing the electric systems and keeping in our international commitments, Government of India has notified several measures like introduction of renewable purchase obligation, waiver of interstate transmission system charges and losses, development of large solar parks, and green energy corridors for evacuation of power. Due to several of these initiatives undertaken, RE capacity, excluding hydro, has increased from 35 gigawatts in 2014 to 91 gigawatts by end of December 2020. As of now, our non-fossil fuel electric power generation capacity is 136 gigawatt, which is already 36% of our established power generation capacity. Excellency, despite our COVID efforts to promote RE continued relentlessly to mitigate the problems arising on COVID-19 measures like grant of suitable extension in commissioning and intermediate milestones without any penal charges, according must-run status to RE plants were taken. Excellency, with an objective to strive towards leadership in hydrogen strategy, the Government of India has decided to launch a comprehensive national hydrogen energy. The mission focuses on demand.
Mr. Jagdale, I think there's a problem with the link. We can't hear you.
Can you hear us, sir, now?
Yes.
Excellency, with an objective to strive towards leadership in the hydrogen energy, the Government of India has decided to launch a comprehensive national hydrogen energy mission. The mission focuses on demand creation, indigenous manufacturing, innovation, and necessary policy support for propagation of hydrogen energy in the country. We recognize the need for global coordinated action to combat climate change and adopt a sustainable development path. We have a dream called One World, One Sun, One Grid. It can generate round-the-clock electricity from the sun as it never sets for the entire earth. We continue to support IRENA in its collaborative endeavors to promote RE and transform the world's energy scenario while yielding far-reaching social and economic gains for mankind. Your Excellency, thank you.
Thank you, India. I now invite Thailand for their intervention. Mr. Prasath Sinsuk Prasath, Director General, Department of Alternative Energy Development. Excellency, we can't hear you. I think you are on mute.
Good day to you all. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the IRENA for hosting assembly. And I would like to also admire Director General Francesco Le Camera for his strong leadership of IRENA, and he has successfully led his team in its important work of IRENA members during this very difficult time on the COVID-19 pandemic. The transition in global energy is well underway, Thailand included. 2020 has been a busy year for us despite the COVID situation. Thailand has endorsed a new updated version of our National Power Development Plan, which explicitly shows the country's ambition to embrace renewable energy by setting a goal to increase the RE power capacity to 40%. And that endorsement is a critical milestone reflecting not only Thailand's future energy strategy, but also its continuous progress in transitioning to renewable energy. We also have made a lot of achievements in terms of energy transition, including adopting the innovative blockchain technology, as well as issuing the first green bond in the country. That shows that we are heading in the right direction and that's in line with the transition of Thailand to a low carbon society, as well as to the new economic model driving Thailand to become a country. In 2021, our policy is still focusing on creating jobs and wealth for rural community people, and at the same time promoting renewable energy for green and sustainable development, so-called energy for all. One of the most important projects this year is to promote distributed green community power plant using biomass under a joint development between community people and the investors. The project designed to increase the community income through renewable energy power plant in the area. So Thailand is well underway in terms of energy transition, and as well as we want to create jobs and income for the rural people after this post-COVID recovery strategic plan. At the end, I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude once again to IRENA for conducting the study on renewable energy outlook for Thailand, which has provided valuable analysis and insightful recommendations to the development of our national energy development strategy and plan. And please assure that Thailand is ready to engage, and we are committed to the shared pursuit of this global energy transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thailand. The next speaker on the list is New Zealand, Mr. Mike Allen, Special Advisor on Renewable Energy.
Thank you, Chair. New Zealand would like to congratulate the Director General and the staff of IRENA for the significant and continuing efforts that the agency has made through the last year under what we all recognise have been very difficult conditions. Despite these challenges, IRENA has demonstrated the effectiveness of virtual communications, and there are experiences that may well offer valuable lessons to improve the cost effectiveness and impact of IRENA's programs going forward, while also reducing greenhouse gas emissions. In 2019, New Zealand passed our zero carbon bill into law, and this has set a new domestic emissions target of all greenhouse gases except biogenic methane to zero by 2050. It has seen the establishment of an independent climate change commission to provide expert advice and monitoring, and to set carbon budgets to help keep successive governments on track to meeting long-term goals. While New Zealand currently generates some 85% of its electricity through renewable resources, these resources provide only 40% of our primary energy. With a commitment to have 100% renewable electricity generation by 2030, there are parallel efforts underway to address primary energy needs, particularly in transportation. In addition to encouraging the use of electric vehicles, green hydrogen plants are already under construction, both for domestic consumption and export. New Zealand recognises the focus that IRENA is building around green hydrogen and welcomes the establishment of the associated collaborative platform. Through the IRENA ADFD facility, New Zealand has been pleased to be able to support IRENA help deliver targeted concessional financial support into markets where the need is greatest. Given our Pacific base, we recognise the importance of support to the SIDS in this region and globally. We were pleased to hear the Director General announce yesterday that in the first half of 2021, he expects to confirm the establishment of a second phase facility to build on the achievements of the first and draw on the considerable experience that this provided. New Zealand is pleased to offer its continuing support for this facility. We have, however, voiced our reservations about the climate investment platform. The effectiveness of large investment platforms has not been proven, and we would encourage IRENA to work closely with those few existing successful platforms. The New Zealand Aid Programme delivers support for developing countries with a focus on the Pacific Islands region. We have helped several states and territories build their first large-scale renewable generation projects. Fortunately, new generation is mostly being built by independent power producers, and this is enabling New Zealand to turn its attention to a more holistic model, including low emission development strategies and planning, capability building, energy efficiency and transport, which is the largest use of fossil fuel in the Pacific. Critical to longevity and sustainability of these new technologies is training. Together with Japan, New Zealand tasked the Pacific Regional Infrastructure Facility, PRIF, with developing a plan for Pacific Regional Training Centre, which will coordinate and embed the capacity development work of the many development partners active in the energy sector in the Pacific. Support for a modest annual operation budget is now being sought, and New Zealand would be pleased to share the plan and study report with other donors to collaborate in what is seen as an exciting new venture that could provide a facility that has a long-term future. Chair, thank you for this opportunity to address the Assembly.
Thank you, New Zealand. I now invite Mozambique for their intervention. Honorable Teodoro D. Valles, Permanent Secretary. Sir, I think you are on mute.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, we can now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. IRENA Director General, Mr. President of General Assembly, Head of Delegations, Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of Mozambique, and personally, I would like to address our gratitude for the opportunity to share these achievements on renewable energy transition in Mozambique with important high-level panel on energy transition for sustainable post-COVID recovery. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic that affected the world, Mozambique is experiencing a slowdown in the implementation of renewable energy projects. The projects were paralyzed due to several limitations imposed by the pandemic. In this regard, we would like to welcome the effort made by IRENA to host this virtual format of 11th session of the Assembly. According to the Mozambique Renewable Energy Atlas, this country has huge potential of renewable energy, more or less around 47.6 gigawatts. Emphasize to the solar, wind, hydro, biomass, and geothermal. The energy sector policy and strategic prioritize the diversification of the energy metrics to accelerate the access of affordable and sustainable energy. The National Electrification Strategy defines technological options and the appropriate institutional model to guarantee the achievement of universal access to energy in Mozambique by 2030. Additionally, the 25 years integrated master plan for electric infrastructure point as least cost options the integration of 10% of renewable energy into the national energy matrix to ensure greater diversification and security. Within the framework of efforts to increase the contribution of renewables, the policy and the regulatory framework to improve the enable environment for private investment, Government of Mozambique is promoting the following renewable energy programs that deserve to be highlighted. Proler Project, Promotion of Oceans for Renewable Energy, launched in 2020 by Mozambique, as a clear action to improve regulatory framework and policy to enable renewables energy development, and also to mitigate regulatory costs and achieve a sustainable and competitive tariffs of the power purchase agreement contracts. Within the scope of this program, 3 solar projects will be implemented at the Dondo district, Lixinga province, and the Manja district with the capacity of 30 megawatts each, and 1 wind at the Inhambane province with 50 megawatts. The Dondo district solar power plant, 40 megawatts, is under progress. Mozambique is developing the global energy transfer feeds in Tariffs, get feed will generate around 130 megawatts of renewable energy projects based on solar, biomass, and hydro technology with the storage. Mozambique has made significant progress in the implementation of following utility scale solar energy projects. Mocuba District Solar Power Plant, 40 megabytes in Mocuba District, Zambezia Province, commissioned in 2019. Metro solar power plant, and the construction 40 megawatts in Anquab district, Cabo Delgado province, expect to be commissioned this year. The government's 5-year plan for the 2020 to 2024 period defined targets to increase up to 600 megawatts, promoting public and private investment in a new generation infrastructure, from which 200 megawatts are renewables in order to ensure the contribution in the diversification of energy metrics. For the same period, the government of Mozambique has committed to electrify all the headquarters of administrative posts through the combination of options to connections to national grid and autonomous distribution system, which allowed the count to rise to electrification rate from around 34% up to from 2020 and around 64% till 2024. From 35 administrative posts that have not yet been electrified, 37 will be electrified through isolated solar PV, photovoltaic mini grids, with a view of creating a favorable environment for the development of energy projects, in particular those for renewable energies. Several actions are ongoing with emphasis on the revision of the electricity law and also the regulatory framework for the off-grid energy supply. Within the scope of support from IRENA, Mozambique developed the following activities. The government of Mozambique is currently in the process of reviewing and developing an updated NDC under the Paris Agreement and benefiting from the support of IRENA to strengthen this process. This support allows Mozambique to have a comprehensive and functional energy balance, as well as installing appropriate or specific software to produce energy balance and statistical data. Technical assistance to the site assessment and grid assessment benefit the national utility EDM. The grid assessment aims to provide the country with a complete overview of the impact of the upcoming projects till 2042, which is the current master plan's horizon. The site assessment study raised all the aspects related to 12 selected sites for development of these projects, covering technical and economic aspects. Hereby, we would like to address our appreciation for this effort done by IRENA, in the hope that we keep this close relation and collaboration in the development of the energy sector. Lastly, I would like once again praise and welcome the efforts of IRENA and the General Directorate, even in the midst of the negative impacts of COVID-19, made it possible to host this magnificent event, the 11th session of the Assembly of the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA. And also, we would like to address our gratitude to IRENA's support for Mozambique and hope that this event has many successful and important decisions. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mozambique. The next two interventions will come from Japan. For the first intervention, I give the floor to Mr. Aichiro Washio, State Minister for Foreign Affairs.
President of the Assembly, Director General Francesco Lacamera, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Washio Eiichiro, State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan. While the spread of the COVID-19 threatens the world, renewable energy is the only source of energy food supply is growing. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude for IRENA's unwavering contributions under the strong leadership of Director General Lacamera. Carbon neutrality is a global goal for humanity to achieve. However, the challenges to its realization vary from country to country, and there is no single path to its realization. In October of last year, Japan declared its intention to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. that is net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Countries with limited energy resources like Japan, for example, need to mobilize technology and innovation in order to achieve carbon neutrality while maximizing the introduction of renewable energy sources. As part of this effort, Japan sets targets to achieve in 14 prioritized technology areas, such as offshore wind power, hydrogen storage batteries, and carbon recycling at the end of last year. A fund of approximately $20 billion will be set up to provide support for these ambitious research and development projects continuously for 10 years. In addition, we will create model cases of existing decarbonization technologies, including renewable energy, at various locations of Japan without waiting for the results of technological innovation. The aim will be to generate a series of regional decarbonization dominoes. We will concentrate on these efforts over the next 5 years until 2025. Support for decarbonization in developing countries is also important. In Jordan, for example, Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, is currently implementing a project for operation, maintenance, and inspection to promote correct integration of renewable energy and a stable supply of electricity. In order to accomplish widespread introduction of renewable energies on a global scale, we have to face not only its benefits, but also its potential challenges. For example, I would like to point out the following 3 points. Firstly, we need to have a realistic debate on ensuring adjusting power and assessing the cost of the entire power system in accordance with the individual circumstances of each country. Secondly, as pointed out in the IRENA report, a range of minerals and metals are used for storage batteries and motors, which are indispensable for the introduction and diffusions of renewable energy. How to secure these limited resources is an issue that we must consider together. Thirdly, we need to tackle how to deal with the mass disposal of storage batteries and solar panels. Japan raised the issue at the General Assembly of IRENA last year. Japan has already started to provide support for companies for the introduction of these recycling facilities and technical development. And JICA has also begun to provide technical training programs for developing countries. IRENA is the most appropriate international organization to discuss these challenges. Through IRENA, I'm confident that we'll be able to tackle and resolve these challenges step by step in a coordinated and effective manner. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Washio. For Japan's second intervention, I invite Mr. Ejima Kiyoshi, State Minister for Economic Trade.
Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the Director General of IRENA, and all participants. My name is Ejima Kiyoshi, State Minister of Economy, Trade, and Industry of Japan. I would like to express my sincere congratulations for holding the IRENA Assembly so successfully. Last year, Japan declared that we would aim to achieve a carbon-neutral, decarbonized society by 2050. I believe tackling global warming issues is an opportunity for economic growth, and it is important to create a virtuous cycle of the economy and the environment. In order to create this virtuous cycle, Japan published the Green Growth Strategy in line with carbon neutrality in 2050 at the end of last year. In the strategy, we have formulated action plans toward 2050 for 14 promising industries, including offshore wind, hydrogen, and automobile and storage batteries. In particular, by the result of discussions at a public-private council, offshore wind generation has been set a target of 10 gigawatts of offshore wind capacity by 2030 and 30 to 45 gigawatts by 2040 by the government. Japanese industry has set goals to create a robust supply chain and reduce the costs. The government also aims to attract investment from both inside and outside of Japan by the development of an attractive domestic market. As for hydrogen, the world's largest scale electrolyzer with a capacity of 10 megawatts is now in operation in Fukushima Prefecture. We are also conducting a demonstration project on hydrogen transportation by the world's first liquefied hydrogen carrier from Australia to Japan. Together with the initiatives which has been mentioned by Mr. Washio, State Minister of Foreign Affairs, and which will be explained by Mr. Sasagawa, State Minister of Environment, in the next session, the government of Japan as a whole will work together. The Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry would like to share the knowledge and experience gained from these activities with IRENA in addition to long-standing voluntary contributions. By doing so, we will actively contribute to support countries that make a realistic energy transition in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Japan. I now give the floor to Malaysia, Honorable Dato Shamsul Anwar Nasraha, Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Malaysia, I would like to congratulate Spain on the election as the new president, and Albania, Costa Rica, Ghana, and India as the newly elected vice president of this 11th Assembly. While we convened the 11th ARENA Assembly amidst this time of unprecedented global uncertainty, it is heartening to witness that there is a greatest awakening among countries on the importance of energy transition. More and more countries are now venturing into the development of renewable energy as a means for economic recovery. Like many countries in the world, Malaysia is also looking into RE as a new area and source of growth to bring its economy back to normality. We believe that hasten the development of RE is the most viable option for immediate economic recovery. Thus, 1,000 megawatt of contract for large-scale solar and 500 megawatt of rooftop solar were announced as part of Malaysia border post-COVID-19 recovery measure. This stimulus package introduced were also coupled with the requirement for great local content and local participation as an effort to revive the country's economy through economic spillover and job creation. These initiatives are estimated to harness an investment of $1.5 billion and create 18,000 new job opportunities. Malaysia will continue to further capitalize on such positive development to attract more investment for clean energy transformation, including in spearheading and scaling up the development and deployment of RE. We expect that RE adoption in Malaysia will continue to grow at a faster pace. The spillover effect from RE development will benefit our people and our nation through provision of job opportunities, multiplier effect, and wealth creation. Therefore, we look forward to learning and pursuing more collaboration in the area of clean and renewable energy transformation from the delegates present in this assembly. Malaysia will continue to lend its support to the efforts undertaken by ARENA in ensuring that the development of RE remain the pillar of every country's energy transition agenda. Last but not least, I sincerely hope that this year's assembly will mark another milestone in energy transition amid our efforts to contain the COVID pandemic. With that, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Malaysia. I now give the floor to Sri Lanka. Honorable Duminda Disanaike, State Minister of Solar Power, Wind and Hydropower Generation Projects.
Ayubowan, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, it is my great pleasure to wish you with the single word of greeting from Sri Lanka, Ayubowan, which means may you live long, a very timely and significant wish. The year 2020 has indeed been the most challenging year of the decade for all of us. It was a year of unpredictability, a year that threatened the well-being of our very existence. Unfortunately, we have lost nearly 2 million of our loved ones, and therefore I feel that Ayubowan resonate more meaning than any other expression of our times. While we seek to resolve the COVID pandemic, we ought to address even a more severe challenge, climate challenge. In this respect, the responsibility we carry as the decision makers in the energy industry is of crucial value. As statistics speaks globally, the use of energy represents by far the largest source of greenhouse gas emission from human activities. About 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions are linked to burning fossil fuel for energy to be used for heating, electricity, transport and industry. Sri Lanka, as a beautiful tropical island, at one point was 100% hydro energy powered, creating no carbon footprint in the energy generation sector. With the growth and expansion of the economy, this however changed as the national energy requirement increased. At present, when we analytically break down the national carbon emission figures for Sri Lanka, more than 40% of carbon emission come from energy industry. I'm humbly proud to say that we were able to minimize our CO2 emission impact with the development of large-scale renewable energy-based power generation, primarily through the rooftop solar industry. Sri Lanka launched her first power development scheme in 1996 and achieved notable success. In the year 2006, Sri Lanka unleashed the true potential of renewable energy. We passed the impressive 1,000 megawatt capacity last year with the commissioning of a 100 megawatts wind park in the island of Mannar. With this promising start, we envisage nearly threefold increase of renewable energy capacity within the decade from biomass, hydro, solar and wind resources. We envision a future where many of our young citizens strive to become successful entrepreneurs and service providers, adding value to our renewable energy resources. This economic addition, unlike other economic fronts, would not depend on global trade or external factors. Instead, it will stand out as a resilient and sustainable element of our economy. Together with the International Renewable Energy Agency, we look forward to this new facet of our economy whilst making a meaningful and impactful contribution to mitigate climate change and promote green energy initiatives. With that, I conclude my short speech, wishing success to all future endeavors of the arena. And I wish all of you a long life once again in our traditional way. Ayubowan.
Thank you, Sri Lanka. I now give the floor to Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Dr. Khalid Saleh Al Sultan, President King Abdullah City for Atomic and Renewable Energy.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم معالي الرئيس أصحاب المعالي والسعادة رؤساء الوفود الحضور
In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, dear participants, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. I would like at the outset to address you with our thanks and appreciation for all the members of IRENA and the Director General of IRENA for all the efforts and activities conducted. I would like also to congratulate the Kingdom of Spain for being the chair of this Assembly of IRENA. I would like also to congratulate Albania, India, and Costa Rica for being the vice presidents. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the exceptional circumstances the world at large faced during 2020 as a result of COVID-19, the importance or highlighted the importance of unifying efforts in facing the global issues and the crisis in order to build a flourishing future. We look forward more than ever to unify the efforts of the international community and to have active partnership between the public and the private sectors in order to achieve economic and social development as well environmental development. Within this framework and on the level of renewable energy, the Ministry of Energy in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia developed policies in order to have more projects of renewable energy, and we issue the national program for the renewable energy. And in order to have a clear system of energy that is bringing under its umbrella all different projects related to renewable energy, we established this council to govern all the activities. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia works to decrease the use of carbon, and we have a plan for 2030 to decrease our use of carbon by 50%. And in order to enable the new technologies in the field of renewable energy, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia during last year launched several initiatives and projects in order to have more green hydrogen, to use the hydrogen and to store it properly. I would like to mention in this regard that Saudi Arabia targets enhancing the role of renewable energy in the economy through increasing the national content and to enable good training in order to develop the human resources to work in this renewable energy sector. We also support all initiatives to improve the innovations in this sector. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia also is very keen on encouraging the sustainable economy of carbon already approved by the G20 under the Saudi presidency of the G20, and this is of course an example of what we endeavor to achieve. There are 4 strategies working to decrease the use of fossil fuel and also to have the green hydrogen and to utilize energy in a better way through decreasing consumption and increasing efficiency. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate my thanks to IRENA and reiterate the Saudi Arabia's support to all the efforts of IRENA in order to achieve its mission and to unify the global efforts. Thank you and Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. The next intervention is by the United Kingdom. His Excellency, Mr. Patrick Moody, Ambassador of the UK to the UAE.
Thank you, Chair. And may I also thank IRENA for so successfully pursuing its ambitious work programme this year, despite the challenges of a pandemic. The pandemic has been an unprecedented challenge for us all, governments, organisations, businesses and citizens, but we're now all focused on building back better. And better means a sustainable recovery. The UK strongly supports IRENA's role in this transition towards cleaner, cheaper and more flexible energy systems. And we congratulate IRENA on your work on innovation, socioeconomics, the NDCs, collaborative frameworks, project facilitation and country engagement. And we particularly welcome this as supporting low carbon energy, which is central to our mission to deliver clean growth and net zero. Our actions as the UK include expanding our offshore wind fleet to 40 gigawatts by 2030, providing more incentives for electric vehicles and plans for sustainable fuels for aviation and shipping. And as president of COP26 and the G7 Ministerial this year, we want to use it to strengthen our international collaboration to meet the goals of a Paris Agreement and to secure the most ambitious climate change commitments to date. We're leading by example with our recent NDC commitment to cut emissions by 68% of 1990 levels by 2030. And we're confident others will build on that momentum from the Climate Ambition Summit in December and bring forward their own new commitments before the COP. To achieve this, we'll continue to draw on IRENA's work to promote policies, market mechanisms and innovative technologies that will support the sustainable recovery and accelerate the global energy transition. It's been an incredibly productive partnership. Long may it continue, and thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I now give the floor to Turkey, Mr. Murat Zakaria, Director General of Energy and Natural Resources.
Distinguished delegates, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all and International Renewable Energy Agency for the successful organization of the 11th Assembly. In 2020, due to lockdowns and economic slowdown, we have witnessed a sharp decrease in energy consumption all around the world. Similarly, during the first 6 months of 2020, Turkey's electricity consumption decreased nearly 3.3% due to the impact of pandemic. However, the consumption in 2020 increased about 0.5% year-on-year basis thanks to economic recovery. I would like to emphasize that Turkey has achieved a remarkable growth in renewables in the past decade, led by government support, financial incentives, and favorable investment climate. Thus, the installed capacity in Turkey reached 96 gigawatts in 2020 with 52% share of renewables. In addition, we experienced on daily basis the share of renewables in total electricity generation reaching to the historical record value of 75%. Moreover, nearly all of the 5 gigawatt additional capacity in 2020 is based on renewable energy sources. We will continue to promote the addition of more renewable capacity, and we aim to commission at least 1 gigawatt solar and 1 gigawatt wind capacity each year. The latest wind energy auction with 1 gigawatt installed capacity was completed in 2019. Although last year we launched 74 small-scale solar PV auctions with a total capacity of 1 gigawatt, we had to postpone them to March 2021 due to the pandemic. In addition to this, we will implement Solar City Simulator in order to determine our rooftop solar energy potential in a selected region with the collaboration of International Renewable Energy Agency. Distinguished participants, I hope that my remarks have presented a brief overview of the developments in the renewable sector in Turkey. I thank you very much for your patience and kind attention.
Thank you, Turkey. I now invite Mali for the intervention. Mr. Traore Lamine Seydou, Minister of Mines, Energy and Mining.
Monsieur le Président de l'Assemblée générale de l'IRENA, Monsieur le Vice-président de l'Assemblée générale de l'IRENA, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres,
Mr. President of the General Meeting of IRENA, ministers and heads of delegations, honorable delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the delegation of the Republic of Mali, please let me address to the president of the meeting as well as to the distinguished members of IRENA my best wishes for this new year. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Francesco La Camera, Director General of IRENA, along with his team for the efforts deployed to organize via video conferencing this 11th session of the General Meeting and for the encouraging results obtained during this mandate after 2 years spent at the head of this great institution that has asserted itself on the international arena. Ladies and gentlemen, the previous session of the General Meeting of IRENA made it possible to support Mali's efforts to bring about the hybrid system for rural electrification via renewable energy in 32 villages in Mali that is now being carried out for a total amount of $9 million in the form of a loan, a project financed through the Abu Dhabi Development Fund. The assessment of the readiness for renewable energy in Mali, financed by IRENA, whose report was validated in 2019. Like Mali, efforts were made by all member states of IRENA to scale up rural, peri-urban, and urban electrification. I'm happy to announce that Mali inaugurated in 2021 its first solar plant for 50 megawatt peaks that is operational since March 2020. Several states have renewable energy agencies, and we must admit that for lack of adequate funding, they find it hard to achieve sustainable goals. It is time to commend the previous actions carried out by our joint institution that made it possible through the Ministry of Energy and Water and its technical structures, as well as the Malian Agency for Development of Domestic Energy and Rural Electrification. All of these actions certainly seek to boost electrification via renewable resources to meet the fundamental needs of the many people who grant a lot of importance to integration in our sub-regional, regional, and international space. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Mali therefore expects our agency to work efficiently and lastingly to promote renewable energy by raising obstacles linked to capacity building, technology transfer, mobilizing funding, and lastly, obstacles linked to the institutional framework. Mali, through my voice, reasserts its faith in IRENA and its determination to strive towards attaining its noble objectives. I wish full success to our work, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mali. I understand that Mali's speech, translation of Mali's speech will be circulated like in other cases where the speech is not in English. I now give the floor to Sudan. His Excellency Khairi Abdul Rahman Ahmad, Acting Minister of Energy and Mining.
His Excellency Mr. Francisco La Camara, Director General, Her Excellency Ms. Teresa Ribera, President of IRENA 11th Assembly, Honorable Ministers representing various IRENA member countries, distinguished guests, dignitaries, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to be speaking at the 11th Assembly of the International Renewable Energy Agency. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to IRENA Secretariat for the efforts that done to achieve the organizational goals. Renewable energy will support the development of the world during this critical pandemic time. Renewable energy drive the economic growth in many ways by opening new opportunities, creating job markets, and facilitating the education process. Intergovernmental dialogue is essential for productive cooperation towards renewable energy transformation. IRENA has supported this process through knowledge exchange and strategic planning. For instance, renewable energy readiness assessment of countries is their baseline for well-designed national enabling reform and regional integration mechanisms. That is an area at which IRENA contribution is valuable. Sudan is passing through transitional phase in energy sector with an ambitious plan for electricity sector transformation towards renewable energy. The country is targeting 20% installed capacity of renewable energy by 2035. Challenges are huge, yet the country has completed many steps, including resource assessment studies, renewable energy master plan, and pilot projects such as 5-megawatt solar, wind energy, rooftop systems, solar pumps, and biogas energy. Utility scale projects are way behind due to financial obstacles. IRENA could lead regional conferences and workshops to identify untapped potentials in project finance, public-private partnership models, as well as intergovernmental cooperation. Since financial barrier is the main challenge for all developing countries, despite the huge natural resources, a matter that increases the risk of fossil fuel and inefficient firewood consumption, causing a negative impact to climate change. Considering undeveloped countries, IRENA would need to do more efforts on financing programs to achieve its 2050 targets. That require a lot of work on project initiation and development to attract the multilateral finance agencies such as Green Climate Fund and development banks. Lastly, the Sudanese government is committed to continue supporting IRENA activities to achieve all planned goals. Thanking you very much.
Thank you, Sudan. I now give the floor to France, Her Excellency Ms. Barbara Pompili, Minister of Ecological Transition.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, today I wanted to share some thoughts with you about where we stand and where we are going in these troubled times. The ongoing, long-lasting COVID-19 crisis that affects us all has reshaped most of what we once believed to be intangible. All around the globe, governments, people, civil societies have understood a simple truth. Humans are deeply interlinked with nature. We are part of it. When it flourishes, so do we. When it gets hotter and perishes, so do we. In short, I believe that from these dark times we live in, changes can come. Yes, that will emerge from this depends on us, on our very commitment to engage and accelerate further our transition. And energy is the mother of all battles. With stimulus and recovery plans over the world, we have a unique opportunity to change things that get out of the current deadlock. Time has come to make a great leap toward a greener and more prosperous planet for all. Renewable energies are already part of our daily lives. They have become very competitive. They now account for close to 30% of the electricity produced in the world. And it is just the beginning. The potential of renewable energies is very large and much more widely distributed than fossil fuels. Changing our energy mix is no longer a sweet dream, but a very real policy in place in many countries. So we have no more excuses. We have to keep going, and France is committed to do so. We have put in place a multi-year energy program that supports the development of renewable energies. We plan to double the installed capacity of our national photovoltaic fleet by 2023 to increase onshore wind capacity by more than 40%. We will also install 2.4 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2023, This is part of a broader plan to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050 that aims at engaging all sectors of our economy in decarbonization processes. But we cannot succeed alone. We need everyone on board to further accelerate. Now it is time to redirect finance from fossil energies towards green ones. Now it's time to engage and cut public support to carbon-based energies. In short, it's time to commit without turning back. And I've no doubt we are going to make it. The EU has committed to diminish by at least 55% of our carbon emissions before 2030. The world's biggest democracy, India, has announced its ambition to deploy 450 gigawatts of renewable energy within this decade. And as you all know, we are deeply honored to co-chair the International Solar Alliance together with India. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we all share the same spirit of ambition and determination. Yes, integrating renewable energies into our systems is a unique opportunity to create jobs for the future generation, to stimulate technological innovation, and mostly to create brighter, cleaner, greener, shared future. So thank you all again for your hard work. I thank again IRENA for organizing its assembly even in troubled time. And as the new year is only beginning, let me wish you all a very successful 2021 full of renewable energies.
Thank you, France. We now come to the last intervention of this session, and that is by Brazil, His Excellency Mr. Bento Albuquerque, Minister of Energy.
Director General of IRENA, Francesco La Câmara, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is for me a special honor to address IRENA's assembly for the first time. The main topic of this meeting could not be more appropriate: the need to coordinate post-pandemic recovery efforts, safeguarding the crucial role of renewables in energy transition. As we all know, energy transition is a complex process, one that varies in rhythm and stage according to different countries and regional realities. There is no single technological choice, no universal recipe. It is up to each individual country to identify its competitive advantage and make the most of them, while contributing to the collective commitment toward a low-carbon future. One of Brazil's goals when designing its long-term energy planning strategy is to ensure technology neutrality in order to take advantage of the most adequate options, instead of simply picking winners. In our view, the success of energy transition will largely depend on the deployment of all viable technologies and sources, as there is an urgent need to reduce CO2 emissions. This is going to be even more true in the post-pandemic recovery efforts. Dear Director General, for 5 decades, renewables have been at the center of Brazil's energy planning and policies. We therefore attach great importance to IRENA's work and especially value its holistic and inclusive approach. The conclusion of our accession process to the agency is still pending legislative approval, a delay essentially due to the budgetary constraints. We look forward to becoming a full member of this organization in a not so distant future. In the meantime, we have been increasing our collaboration with IRENA's technical bodies, such as the Long-Term Energy Scenarios campaign, under the Clean Energy Ministerial and the seminar held in Brasilia in 2019, which proved very helpful for our 2050 energy plan. We also value the cooperation between the agency and the Latin America Technical Forum of Energy Planners under the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. And we hope that IRENA will keep strengthening its dialogue with the Latin America Energy Organization. In this regard, I would like to express our appreciation, Dr. Lacâmara, for your personal engagement with our region and with Brazil in particular. And I thank you once again for your fruitful participation in the recent roundtable organized by the World Economic Forum on Opportunities and Challenges of Energy Transition in Brazil. As discussed on that occasion, the post-pandemic recovery will demand from all actors involved a strong determination in order to avoid a setback in energy transition. This will require adjusting mid- and long-term energy planning, conceiving the right public policies and incentives, improving regulatory frameworks, and promoting a growing synergy between public and private decisions in terms of allocation of resource and technology innovation. I am certain that IRENA, through its technical work and expertise, is well positioned to provide a valuable contribution to such an endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brazil. There are no more interventions. I now give the floor to Ms. Gauri Singh, Deputy Director General, for her thoughts and reflections.
Thank you, Excellency Indu Shekhar Chaturvedi. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this very rich discussions that we heard both yesterday and today. Despite the very difficult circumstances in which we meet and the virtual nature of our engagement, the thoughtful feedback and the guidance that we received through these discussions will definitely be instrumental in getting us to understand the needs and the expectations of our membership better. This will also help us do our job better by ensuring that we can do our work in alignment with what the expectations are. It was also very motivating and informative to hear the plans and the strategies of our members around the world. These discussions have demonstrated that we still have a long way ahead. Members stressed the importance of international cooperation on energy to overcome common challenges. They emphasized the importance and balance of IRENA's work across its programmatic pillars to ensure that diverse needs and expectations of membership have to be met. We have heard many different approaches on energy transition, and it is very clear that there is truly a momentum around the energy transition. In this regard, I would like to thank you all for the specificity of your input. We have taken detailed notes, and we will ensure that we will reflect them as we proceed in the implementation of the work program in the second year of the biennium, and as we start preparing for the next programmatic cycle. Again, thank you very much for your active participation and contribution, and we look forward to the Assembly deliberations in the remaining sessions.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Director General. I would like to remind delegations that the Assembly will conclude its consideration of this agenda item on Thursday, 21st January. Distinguished colleagues, we have reached the end of our deliberations for this morning. The Assembly will resume this afternoon with the ministerial meeting on National Energy Planning and Implementation for Fostering Energy Transition. This will start at 15:00 Gulf Standard Time, followed by the ministerial meeting on scaling up finance for renewables, which is scheduled to start at 18:00 Gulf Standard Time. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all.